Let's start. Right now, we'll be focusing on the visualization part. So, how to come up with dashboards or how to come up with reports so that it'll be in a presentable format with which any user or any common man can actually understand what particular analysis or what particular process activity has been done. So, for the visualization is the tool for effective conveying a message or conveying an information in most effective manner. So when it comes to visualization, visualization in the sense, the first thing which comes up to our mind is going to be the graphs. So graphs is what is going to come up to our mind. So graphs, again, what we can do is like we can actually look at multiple graphs. Multiple graphs in the sense, you do have major graphs which will actually convey a specific or an intended message. For example, your bar charts, what they do, they are using for your comparisons. Then you have your line charts, which are going to mainly convey information on the trend or certain analysis, how your trends are. Then the other thing is for instance, you do have your pie charts, which are mostly for comparisons. So all those are actually there. So all these specific each chart has its own function. Okay, so that is something which we'll be looking at. Then you have your, let's say you have your combinations of sorts, in the sense you'll bring in charts, you'll bring in some messages, all these form together to form a dashboard. For example, let's say you have a chart which is actually conveying a message on how that particular year's sales was distributed. So assume a pie chart kind of a scenario. So what percentage was the contribution? What percentage of sales contribution was from each month? So this will be effectively conveyed by your pie chart, because it's going to be in percentage. I'll be able to convey it. But on top of it, I can also write some messages, or I can write some story about it. So these are all actually possible in your visualization. Okay, visualization is a combination of all these. So visualization is again representing an abstract business or scientific data as images that can aid in understanding the meaning of data. So that is what. And visual analytics focus on human interaction with the visualization systems as a part of larger process of data analysis. So here again, what do you actually mean by a good visualization? So good visualization is again anything which actually conveys the message in an effective manner. So any common man can easily understand. Now, when we come into visualization, we do have numerous tools which actually work for visualization. But what we'll be doing is we'll be using Tableau for this part, for the visualization part. So you have numerous tools in the market, so which actually help out on visualization. Tableau is one such tool which is doing a tremendous job in the visualization area. And now they are into the analytics, so it is mostly a BI tool which is helping it out. And it also has the analytics feature. So that's how it is. So Tableau, again, you would have heard of it before. You do have numerous other competitors, but Tableau, again, it is one of the top tools in the market, in the current market. So it has been in that position for quite a bit of time, and it's holding on to it. So Tableau, again, is a business intelligence software that allows anyone to easily connect to data, visualize, and create interactive and shareable dashboards. Yeah, the most important part is the shareable part, where you can create dashboards and you can easily share it to anyone. Like you can actually mail it across, or you can move it to your cloud and then people can access it. So these methods are actually possible when it comes to your Tableau. So your Tableau actually takes care of it. Your Tableau, again, the most thing what I hear from beginners is that it is one of the easiest tools, because it's mostly drag and drop. That's how it is, Tableau. But it doesn't end there. There will be scenarios where you can greatly use your Tableau. There is extensive usage of Tableau is what we have seen. Wow. We have created heat maps, we have created calculations, we have customized Tableau to the extreme levels. So that is also there, where you will be able to create numerous actions. You will be able to hide sheets, you will be able to display sheets, you will be able to come up with some actions where drill down options are there. So all these are actually available in your Tableau. So that is why it is one of the topmost. So Tableau, again, this is something on the lines of journey. Okay, so how Tableau was developed and what is its journey now. So this basically conveys how a Tableau's footprint is. So how it is being used, what are the data sources it can connect to. So Tableau, if you consider, you can connect it to you can actually connect it to most of your data sources. So most of your data sources, in the sense, you have your RDBMS kind, right? So structured data, for the structured data, you have your RDBMS kind. So RDBMS, you'll be able to connect it to Oracle, Teradata, SQL, MySQL, SQL Server, anything for that matter. And you can also connect it to your cubes and everything. Or best part is that you can use your CSVs and Excel and text as an input. So those sources are also there. We'll see what are the sources with which we'll be able to connect to. Okay, so that is something which we will be seeing. I'll show you the options. It has actually numerous options which will enable us. So when we get into the application mode, we'll see all those. Installation again, you can directly download it. You have an option for downloading it from the Tableau Window. Get into it and select the version you want to download. So Tableau again, when you have to install it, it's a very easy installation. It's a very easy installation, and you'll be able to. And then once the installation is done, you'll be getting into the Tableau as such. So once the installation is done, you'll be able to register the product. You need to give you information. Only you can give and register using information. Register it, and then finally you'll be into Tableau. So what I'll do is, like, from here on, we'll use your Tableaus. Okay, so we'll get into Tableau. Tableau again, the icon what we'll be having is, we'll be having an icon similar to this plus sign, right? So that is going to be your Tableau icon. So once you click on it, what I'll be getting is this Tableau window. So this is your Tableau. So this Tableau screen is visible for you. So this is going to be your Tableau window. So Tableau by default, what it has is it has numerous options. So first thing is you can connect it to a file. So file again. So what is the difference between a file and a server is that, so file is something which we have pre-download files. So you can use any Excel file. Let's say you have an Excel file, or you come up with a mock-up Excel file. You come up with some data you have. And even for that matter, you have your personal data. Personal data in the sense, let's say you have your data for a years of expenditure data for your household. You can actually use this and create a visualization. That is also there. Or let's say you have an open data, and that is available in the form of an Excel. So what I'll be able to do is, I'll be able to use that particular Excel, and I'll be able to import this data into Tableau. That is one process. Then you have your text files. So text files again is basically, you would have seen your .txt, right? Those files. Then your MS Access files, JSON file, statistical file, have numerous other options. So you'll be able to select what type of file it is, and then finally open it up in your Tableau. So all these possibilities are there. Apart from this, you have options. You have options to connect servers to it. For example, let's say you have DBs which are of interest. So what you will be able to do is, you will be able to import or select that DB. For example, I can connect it to Tableau server. So basically I can connect it to the cloud, and then I can use it. Or Microsoft SQL, then your Oracle, Amazon Redshift, MySQL. When you click into more, right? So these are all the available servers to which your Tableau can actually connect to, provided you have the connection details. For example, see, you have your Spark SQL, which again is a big data. SAP HANA is there. Salesforce, you have Salesforce, MapR. Then you have your Amazon data. Then you have your Google, BigQuery, Cloud SQL, and everything. So almost PostgreSQL is there. So you'll be able to connect it to all available data, provided you have those connection details too. So what we'll be doing is, we'll also look into how to connect your MySQL. We'll look at numerous options, how one can actually connect to MySQL, use your Excel. Then we'll move on with the saved data source. So for instance, let's say I want to access an Excel file. I'm just basically using my CSV button. I'll just show you the difference now. So your CSV again, what is your CSV? It's a comma separated value, right? So what we'll be able to do is, I'll be able to connect it. If I'm going to convert it, or if I'm going to use it, I can actually directly use it. Else, I can move to a different kind of a data source, then pair it up with your whatever is. I just took the CSV, the Excel file, what we had for it. I have this. So all this is your typical Tableau window, where you have your fields names here, listed out here, and then you'll be able to use this particular window to operate on it. But likewise, what I can do is, this is on your effective. This again is going to help me out on the connecting part. Let me show it once again on connecting your, first thing is, I'll click on new. Excel, have it click on, will open up the exact one. So these are the fields of interest here. So I'll be having this fields here. So data source is going to be here. I'll be able to check on it. Then the sheet one is where I'll be able to use or apply my reporting part. So reporting or visualization is will be applied on this. Okay. So now let's look at the options, the other options. What we did is, we connected our Excel, right? So likewise, I'll also connect my SQL. So now I'll connect MySQL. What I need to type is, I need to type localhost 3306 because that will be your entry here. For example, the reason why I specified this is when I actually open my SQL workbench, if you look at the name, what that particular name shows is service name is MySQL at localhost 3306. So this 3306 is your port name, the user is root, and this localhost is what is required because it is available locally. So I'll use that localhost 3306 root. I'll type in key in the password. That's it. It'll connect my source to my source has been successfully connected. Had there been a problem, this particular connection would not have been established. I would have got a specific error message with the reason why it was not able to connect. So now I have the entire listing. This entire listing is going to have all available databases. For example, I'll go in with Sakila. So I'll be able to click on, when I click on it, all tables under this particular DB will be available for selection. Okay. So then I need to pull in the table which I need. Which I need. Also, this option here, if you look at it, a small list kind of an option. If you look at it, you'll be able to see the table structure. So what you need to do is, if you're going to bring in multiple tables, you need to specify the logic too. So that will be seen in a later point of time when we progress into it. So today we'll look into the baseline, what your Tableau can actually do. So this is nothing but your connection or connecting your MySQL to your Tableau. Is it okay so far? Like connecting your Excel, opening an Excel file, connecting your MySQL file. Is it okay so far? If you look at it, I have both these data sources available. Okay, so I haven't explained each of the icon again, but as you asked it, I just brought up this example. Okay, so these icons are the ones which are going to say what are the available databases. Okay, so each icon has its own specific nature. For example, this is the database which is connected. This here is extract data option. You'll be able to extract data here separately. Likewise, when a particular database is selected, you have a highlight option here. Likewise, if I'm going to use this chemical weight, then this will be selected or this will be highlighted. And you'll have those fields alone. When I go in with Sakaila, I went in with just one table. Just with one table. Yeah, exactly. I went in with just one table. So that table's fields alone will be listed. Okay. So this is what you'll be looking at. Okay, so far, are you able to get it? So likewise, what I can do is, let's say I want to connect to a different database. So what I can do is, let's say I have an Oracle database which I need to connect to. What I will be doing, likewise, I'll specify this server. Again, if it's locally present, I'll go in with local option, give those values, then give the user ID, and I'll be able to connect to it. So that's all your server will do. Okay. So once connected, you'll be able to link up. Then you also have an option of linking these two. So that is something which you will be looking at a later point of time. How can I use these two data sources simultaneously with joining these? Okay. So that is also available. Clear so far on these lines? So now let's look into the options as such. So you're okay, opening an Excel, opening a MySQL, everything is fine. So now let me ask you another, let's start with another one. So let's say I have my table here. So what if I want to bring in another table? How can I go about it? So that again, you need to join it, right? So for example, I have the table actor here. Likewise, the actor info is what I need to, what I also need this. Now, if you look at it, I have this information here, but on which field am I going to join? So that is where your condition lies. So earlier in your MySQL, you would have seen, right? Inner join, outer join. You will be using those options to join these tables, hence with which you will be able to extract your data or use these sheets. That's the part. If you look at it, now I have the entire table listing separately. Earlier, we only had one table. We had just one table. Okay. So this is one table kind of a scenario where I only had one table apart with the respective join or the most logical join. Now I've been able to bring up these two tables here. So now it has given me a space to extract data or use this data for the visualization or for dashboarding. So these are all the options what we have with your Tableau. So your Tableau actually helps out with this join. See, there are multiple ways in which I can actually work on these. Either I can join these here in Tableau, or I can actually create another table in your MySQL. So that is option is also there. I can create a joined table in your MySQL and then bring it to Tableau, or I can bring it to Tableau and then join it. But the advised part is that the entire processing part. Data processing part has to be done on your DB side, because this will solely concentrate on visualization part, so that we will not be loading it up. That is something you should look at. Then let's come back into our options. So here, if you look at it, you have numerous options here. For instance, all I have selected is an inner join. I can go with a left join or a right join. All these are actually possible. Or I can specify another condition too. Let's say this condition alone doesn't satisfy my join rule. So I can also bring in another condition too. So all these are possible on this particular window. Once that is done, we come into the Tableau window part. So Tableau window part, again, what it has numerous options here. So first, let me explain the menus as such. So file menus, again, it is solely related to your options, your default options related to your Tableau files. Tableau files or even default Tableau files options. Like you'll have your new file creation, open a specific file or already available file. All these are actually possible for. Then I have the save option, export package. We'll see this. What is an export package workbook? The save as option. What are the types? Then you have your data. So then under this data, I'll be able to add new data sources. So let's say I have an Oracle data source, or even if for the matter of a file data source. All these are actually possible. Then you have a relationship option. So what I'll be able to do is, based on a condition, I'll be able to relate all these. Okay. So let's say I have initially I had just one data source, or initially in this case what we had is we had your MySQL as my primary data source. So now on top of this MySQL, or with this MySQL, I will be able to add in any other secondary data source. Let's say I bring in a Oracle table or an Oracle connection. What I'll be able to do is I'll be able to join this. So I'll be able to specify the relationship required. Then you have your specific data source options. Okay, so this is pretty much similar to what you have here. And this again is going to be the listing of your data sources or available data sources. This option is what? These are the set of options available for you to perform on your data source. Okay. First thing is your edit data source. Let's say you have a source which keeps on updating. Okay. So you will be able to edit that particular data source here. So let's say you want to bring in another table. So now what I'm doing is I brought in another. Now if you look at it, all I'll be having is I'll be having 3 tables now. So I'll be able to use these tables for the visualization. All these are actually possible from your data source option. Then you have your worksheet options. Worksheet you will be able to worksheet. This is what is called as a worksheet. Look at it. This plus option is for your worksheet. This is for your dashboard, and the next one is for your story. So these are the elements, dashboarding elements available with your Tableau. First one is going to be your sheet. Second one is going to be your dashboard. So if you look at it, look at the sheet, you will be able to differentiate. You will be having a sort of a bar graph. In your dashboard, it's going to be boxes. And story will be like an open page or an open book. So you have these 3. Generally, what we do is like we create sheets and then we use these sheets inside a dashboard. So that's how it is. So what you do is like, let's say you have a particular graph. You create one graph here. You will use your dashboard. Assume you're looking at a sales dashboard, and that particular sales dashboard is for a month, and what you're trying to do is like you're trying to give this particular report to your top management, conveying a message what was the sales for the current month or for the concluded month. So on that dashboard, what you will be having is you will have a sales trend. So you'll have certain metrics as to what was the total sales in that particular month. Then you'll have a number of quantity, or you'll be having number of quantity. Then you'll also have your inventory after that particular what is the inventory on date. Okay. Then you'll have a number of customers who have been serviced or who have been given the product. Then you'll have few charts. For example, a trend analysis chart is what you'll be having. Then you'll have a composition chart. What was the sales amount for each of the products, so that your sales value will be split based on your products. So this, how am I going to piece in all these, is going to be based on the sheets. My dashboard is going to be a collection of sheets. Okay. So likewise, if you're considering about a HR and a HR dashboard, there again you can have that particular month's performance in the employee top performing employee. Then you have the other metrics or the performance related metrics. So you'll be able to display all those. So your dashboard again is going to be a collection of all these. Clear so far with the elements? Next one is going to be your story part. Dashboard again. New dashboard is going to be having. Once created, then you have your story. Then you have analysis. Under analysis, you have certain actions. So these actions are the ones which are related to what we do here, how one can actually connect to the data sources. Okay, so what you're seeing is you're seeing a Tableau window. The Tableau actually has numerous options for us. So I'll be able to connect to a Tableau from a file, Excel file, or I can connect my Tableau to any file system or any data, any other servers which actually have data. For example, your Oracle server, or even for the matter, your MySQL server, SQL server, or Microsoft SQL server, or MySQL Teradata. That's going to be on the data front. So now what we are seeing is we are seeing the numerous options which are available in your Tableau. Carrying on, this analysis part is going to help me out in understanding what the available options. So these are something which will be solely related to whatever we do on a specific sheet. So this mostly will be related to your sheets. So let's say I'm using a specific field in my sheet and I want to actually use a certain kind of an aggregate. All these are possible. So your analysis is going to help out on this particular part. Then you have your map. Map again, let's say you have a retail data, or even let's say you're a part of a services company and you want to see which particular location, as you want to create a map, so that create a map with the location of your offices worldwide. So what you will be able to do is, with this map you will be able to create it. So we'll also look into it. Then you have your format option. Format again, what kind of a font you use, what is the alignment, all these are actually possible. Then you have your server option. This is your Tableau server option. When you sign in, you will be able to upload or publish your workbook. Okay, then you will be able to download your workbook. This is going to be the options for your Windows. Now, Windows in the sense, if your file menu and all these options are actually available. Now, is it clear so far on the options front? What are the available options? So now what we will be doing is we will be traversing, or we will be moving with the sample data source. We have a sample data source. What I will be doing is I'll be moving in with that. I'll be closing this one out. So now, if you look at it, I have some saved data source. These are something which come by default. You will be actually getting it. Unless you delete it, it will be there in your Tableau. Okay, you have two. One is your sample store data. So sample store is an example of a retail data what you are having. We'll be working on this particular data set unless you have some other change. So explaining the part here. Have you guys come across the term dimensions and measures by any chance? Data type in the sense, you generally when you come across any data what you are using, okay, there are mostly two major types. Two major types in the sense. For example, you have your measures and you have your dimensions. Or I should go by this. Dimensions and measures. That's what is your data type. So to give an easy understanding for dimensions and measures, right? So dimensions are the ones which I will not be able to aggregate. For example, it could be a categorical data. So you understand your categorical data, right? What is a categorical data? So your dimensions are such kind, whereas your measures are some quantitative data, okay, or numeric data. So that's how it is. So for example, your sales values are measures, but your product category or your product name is going to be a categorical data. So where it will be a dimension. So those are actually the available data types. So now, can you give me some example of categorical data? Probably which categorical data you might look at when I say in any scenario. Probably in your work sphere, or if you guys are studying, probably give me an example. What is a measure and what is a categorical, for example? So measure, again, as I said, it is going to be a quantitative data. Okay, so my sales value, product quantity, okay, then your profits, the discounts offered, okay? All these are an example of measures. When it comes to these measures, again, I'll be able to do some numerical calculations on it. Okay, for example, sum options, summing. So the sum, all these are part of your aggregate. It's an example of an aggregate function. But when it comes to dimensions, I'll not be able to use all those aggregate functions and all. So basically, what I'll be looking at is I'll be looking at just the count or those kind of functions is what I'll be doing. So when it comes to dimensions, effectively whatever, for example, the most easiest way in which I will be able to say is if it's a categorical data, then it's a dimension, or it's a data on which I will not be able to do any aggregate function. So that's your example. So can I add two customer name? Not possible, right? But I can add two sales values. So that is possible. That is what is going to give the difference. Okay? So if you look at it, whatever option you have under the dimension are mostly categorical ones. Customer name, segment, customer segment, order date. Though I'll be able to perform so with certain actions on with the date, but generally it'll be under the, by default it'll be under the dimensions. Then you have your country, state, your product related information such as your product category, subcategory, and all this. When it comes to your measures, you have your discount, profit ratio, quantity, sale, latitude, longitude. All these are your best part here is you'll be able to differentiate this dimensions and measures based on the colors too. If you look at it, there is also a color difference. And also the data type is also will be available. For example, this says that it's a text data or a character data. This one states that it's a date type data. Then this one states that it's a geo data. Geo in the sense it's a geographical data. Then you have something called as your hierarchy. We'll also know what is a hierarchy. Then here, this hash symbol says that it's a number. This equal to says that it's a created field. A field a user has created. So all these are actually possible. User created fields. These are the examples. So now with this what you will do is you will be able to understand, okay, well, how should I actually get into it? Now let me ask you a question. Let's say it's a measure. So let's say it's a measure. So when it comes to measure, I can also have this measure can be, my numeric data can be of two types, right? Continuous and discrete, right? I'll be able to perform such scenarios too. So let's look at this. So what I do is I select a specific field. I select the sales field now. So sales field is what it is the header what you get in your table, right? So by now you should be comfortable with the term field. So what I'll be able to do is I can play around with this particular field. I can change its type altogether. I can change this from measure to dimension. What I now have is the sales becomes a dimension. But logically it's not. Then I can convert it to a continuous variable. So that is also possible. Then I can change the data type from a number. I can change it to date, time, string, boolean, etc. Then geographical role. All these are possible. Then we have something called as your describe option. When I select this describe option, what happens is that you'll have information related to your particular field. Okay. What is that field type? It's a discrete dimension. Let me change it back to, let's look at a different field. Let's look at an actual measure. So now if you look at it, yeah, it is a continuous measure field. So what is the type? Again, it's a database column. So column again is field. So what is the remote column? Orders, dollar data. It's something which is related to the default aggregation is some status is valid. So you have all these options. So if you want to see what are the quantities, then you need to load it out. So if you go in with this, domain is going to give the entire listing. The listing in the sense what are the values inside. You will have those options. So likewise, I'll be able to view information related to each of your variable. What are the states available? So generally, it'll have a sub-listing. Sub-listing in the sense you will not have listings more. You'll not have more listings, okay, because it's going to limit the number of listings. You'll just see what is the type and how the particular data is presented, okay, based on the data type and the particular field type. Is it a dimensional measure? Is it a string character data type, character field, or a date field? So these are all the lines for your data type. Now, apart from this, what I can do is I can also rename these. So rename in the sense, let's say the sales is something which I want. I can just play around with it. Then you have your options. For example, you'll be able to convert it, then you'll be able to count it. All these options are actually available. Then for coming back to your dimensions and measures. So what I'll be able to do is, I'll be able to play around with my dimensions and measures. Hope my Tableau screen is still visible. So is it clear so far on the dimension and measures type conversion? So now coming back to another listing here. Parameters are the ones with which I'll be able to pass a specific condition for this particular sheet or for the dashboard. Okay. So let's say you have probably had you been, if you had sort of an exposure to any other BI tool, what you would have seen is you would have seen some prompt screens where you would be asking, let's say you want to retrieve a sales data for a specific time period. Therein you will be able to specify what is your from date and to date for which you need to extract the data. So all those are actually possible with your parameters. Parameters are going to help you out on those lines. Okay, you'll be able to pass in some specific condition on with which you will be extracting data or you will be filtering out your data. So that is on your parameters. And next, you have your, now let us get into the functionality part, how to go about with your Tableau. So as of now, we've just seen the baseline as to what Tableau can, what are the options available in your Tableau. So now let's see the part. Now if you can see, this window has many sub windows or shelves. Okay, so this sheet is where you will have your listings. Listing in the sense, let's say you have you draw a graph, it will be available here. Or if you come up with a table, it will be available. It will be available in this particular sheet. Okay, so let us see some most common data. So by default, what happens is I'll be able to. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to view what are the data available. Okay. So what is the sales value for each of your state? By default or automatically, Tableau suggests it actually suggests the best suited graph for your data. Okay. If you look at the show me window towards the top right, based on the fields you used, okay, based on the fields type, you have certain charts highlighted, which shows that you can use all these charts for particular data. For example, what the notion for me to use is state and sales is that I want to see what is the sales value or the sales amount state-wise. Okay, so that is something I can use. So if you look at this, what I'm doing, I'm dropping the state field and the sales field in these shelves here, your columns and rows. What it does, if I'll just use one single field so that it will be easy. This again is going to have just one entry. What it does is this country. So this product category, I'm dropping it on the columns now. So columns again, what it does, it is going to, this category is, this store has 3 product categories. And these categories will be listed column wise if I'm going to use this category field in the column. So let's say I bring it down. I'm not bringing it down, but I'm going to ask you a question. Let's say I'm bringing it down. So now what will be the arrangement? What will happen is it's going to take a transformation. Earlier you had it horizontally. Okay. Earlier you had your categories listed horizontally when I used my category in the columns field. Now, when I bring it to your rows, the categories will be listed vertically. Okay, so this is how your columns and rows actually perform. So based on the positioning or based on the shelving of each of the field, in which shelf it is, that is in your columns or row shelf, my data is going to change. Data in the sense, the arrangement of that particular data is going to change. Okay. So now let's see, let's say I bring in another field. Okay. Now I'll bring in the sales. So by default, what happens here, if you look at it, it's just sales here. But when I put it up in your columns, it actually has your sales has actually summed up. The reason for that is your analysis, right? There is an aggregate measure in your analysis. If I take it out, then all I'll be having is the listings now. So this is the reason why I'm having the sales option. So now what I'll be doing is I've just brought in 2 fields. So what is this fields doing? What are these fields doing now? So this is actually conveying a message. So this is actually conveying a message. What message is it conveying? It is conveying what is the sales amount or what is the total sales amount for the product categories, for these 3 product categories. So furniture, it has a sales amount of $742,000. Likewise, office supply has a sales of $719,000 plus some change. Likewise, $836,000 and some change. This is the total sales value for your technology or category technology. So this is what is your information being conveyed. So now if you look at it, your Tableau automatically chooses an option. When I click on the show me, Tableau will give you a listing of charts which I can use for this particular data. Okay, for this particular data in the sense for these fields which I have put up. So for example, I can have these sales in figures. 742,000. If I go in with the text one, then I have this pie. Again, if you look at it, the pie shows the sales figure. You can look at the sector area, the slices sides. Okay, technology has the highest sales amount, hence it's got a slice with a greater size. Likewise, your office supply is the least. Office supply has the least sales amount, hence it's got the most or the smallest slice size. So these are actually possible. Then you have your multiple types are actually possible. If you look at each of those charts, right, at the very end you have this condition. So when will this chart be enabled? For example, I'm just keeping this one on. So by default, what I have this here. So now, if you look at it, this chart gets enabled if there are one or more measures. Even if there are no dimensions, I'll be able to go in with the measures. For example, even now I'll be able to get this. What this particular bar graph shows, it is going to give me just the total sales amount. Okay, so these are all the options which actually which are actually available for you. Okay, by default, if you bring in some fields, right? Let me change the fields now. I'm just going in with a customer name. So if you look at it, for this particular data type, okay, what I have brought in is I have brought in 2 dimensions, and these 2 dimensions are text. I do not have any other suitable visualization for this. So that is the reason why this text table alone has been enabled. So these are the options, or these are your recommendations from your Tableau. So Tableau by default gives you a recommendation. So let's say I bring in another one. So this one is going to be I'm going to use your geodata. Geodata in the sense latitude and longitudes. So latitudes, where should I put, and longitude, where should I put? Only if I put it in the right place, I'll be able to get a map. So these are actually possible for me. Only if I put each of the items in a particular space, I'll be able to get that data. Okay. So your positioning of data is also important. So now what I have brought in, I have just brought in another geodata, which is your state. I have these selections now. What I'll be able to do is, I can select any type I want. So now if you look at it, the data, whatever I have got is from your USA. So the data relates to all stores available in the USA. So this store is, our assumption is that this store is available in the USA. So when I go in with the state, the map is selected and each state's data gets displayed. Is it okay so far? On the data front, your shelves, your columns, rows, shelves. So this is on your geodata front. So now let's use this graph, and then I'll explain these marks and the other options available. Let's go in with this sales option. Or like now I'll take another subcategory. So now if you look at it, I'm getting this total sales value for each of the subcategory in your products. So product subcategory. So what I can do? So now can you understand which product category has the highest sales, or which product has the highest sales amount, or garner the most revenue? Those are possible, right? With your bar graph. Okay. This is nothing but the vertical listing. If I interchange the positioning of these, you get a horizontal. So likewise, I'll be able to change the type. So now this is a packed bubbles. So the one which has the highest sales is going to have the biggest bubble. All these are actually possible. So likewise, I can also have this text data too. It'll just give the listing and the sales amount for each of your subcategories. All these are possible. Now, it's not just with your subcategory. You also want to see here. Now, will you able, apart from the value what we have here, will you be able to say which this accessory falls into which main product category or main category? See, if you look at it, category, then it's your subcategory. Okay, under categories is what you have your subcategories. Now what I have done is I have listed all subcategories together. Okay, so let's say I have 4 subcategories in your technology, 3 subcategories in your furniture, then the rest all in the office supplies. So will I be able to differentiate which subcategories from which main one parent category? I'll not be able to do it. So what I'll do is I'll bring it here. So when I bring that, you have that segregation also possible. So furniture has these subcategories, and this is going to be the sales amount for these guys. Okay, those are actually possible. So now based on it, I'll be able to select the relevant data. So here, this is not going to help me out with the result. It has given this has actually when I use a pie chart, it has gone and messed up the entire flow. So that is of no help here. Now, this one is a stacked bar chart is what this is. So now if you look at it, each subcategory has its own color. All these are possible. So if you look at it, furniture, then your bookcase, everything not in one. So each subcategory also has a different color, and the categories are listed. There is a separate bar for each of your categories, and each of your categories have separate colors now. So that's how it is. Okay, all these are actually possible with your Tableau. Is it okay so far? So now let's get into the options. So I'll just go on with the, because it's much easy for us to. So now what we have is, we have your categories listed and sales for each of this category. So now what are these options here? First thing, I'll be able to, based on the type of chart I use or based on the chart type, I'll be able to use all these. For example, this color here. So all I now want is, I do not want the category. I do not want a separate segregation for this. I'm just taking it out. But I want that category to be identified. How can I do it? I can use this category. I can drop it on the color. Now, if you look at it, each category, that is on the top right, you have your legend. So that is a color legend. To be more precise, it's a color legend. So each category is now given a specific color. So now if you look at the bars, right, the ones related to furniture are given a color. Likewise, the ones which are categorized as office supply, those are actually given a separate color. Likewise, your technology is given a separate color. So this is also easy for you to identify, provided you have that legend also available. So without this particular legend, right, without this legend, this is useless. I'll not be able to identify which color is for which category. Okay, so you need your legend now. So you need your legends. Without your legends, that particular visualization is not effective, because it's going to come up with an ambiguity where I'll not be able to understand which category says what. Okay, so this is one such. Okay. Now let's leave it at this. I'm not going to touch this particular chart further. What I'm doing is, I want to create another chart. What I can do, I'll create a new worksheet. I'll go on with a new worksheet, click on it. A new worksheet is now created. So which data you want to work on? I want to see which segment sold the most quantities, or which customer segment actually bought the most quantity. Now what I'll do, I'll go in with this, then I'll bring in the customer segment, then I'll bring in the quantity. Now if you look at it, yes, the quantity is also available. So consumer again bought the highest quantity, 19,521. So let's say you want to get a clear number in the sense you do want the bar chart or the graph. Apart from that, you also want the count to be made visible. Only if I hover on this, I'm getting it. Else, I'm not getting the exact count, right? So we're just getting the scale alone. On the scale, I'll not be able to precisely. On the scale, I'll not be able to get the exact value. But for me, I do have another option. What I can do is, I can use this quantity, and then I can drop in on the detail. Now, if you look at it, yes, I'm getting that option too. So 90,521 was the total quantity bought by the segment consumer. Okay, so consumer segment actually had some quantity. 19,521 was the total number of quantity. So that is, then you do have another option. Let's say you also want to get the sales information, but you do not want it in the chart. Chart in the sense, you do not want that particular chart size to also change. What I can do is, I can use it in the tooltip. I have this sales now listed. So before having it here, okay, all I get is, I just get the information of these two fields, segment and quantity. By default, I'll be getting it. Okay. But now I do not want that sales information to be used in the visualization part. Visualization in the part instance, I do not want it to play a role in the sizing. All I want is, I just want that mere information alone. What I can do, I can just bring it out. I can use it in detail, or I can use it in the tooltip. I can do both. So this is what is going to help me out for these lines. So this, basically, your label is going to give your ceiling value. It's going to give you the label. For example, I can also bring in the sales, and that will also come up. But it's going to give in a different kind of a view. So generally, it is advisable to have just one label if in case you need one. Else you can actually have these on your size. So let us create a. So now what you need is you just want to see which particular segment had a higher sales. You just want, apart from your bar graph, you can also bring in the shapes and sizes. Okay. So size again is going to help you out as to what you need to do. So here, this one shows that you have the scale again, which value is taking which one. So if it's going to be 560, then you have a small one. And if it's 5,000 or in that particular range, 561 to 50,000, then it's going to be of a specific kind, 49,000. So of a specific kind. Okay. So all these are actually possible with your segments now. So now let's say look at this category. So now what I want is I want to apply certain filters. Filters in the sense, yes, I have the subcategory or the sales for each of your subcategory. And I also have that classification or the categorization of the products too. Okay. But now I want to view for a specific state. How should I do it? So that is when you take that state option, take it to the filters, you have the entire listing of what are the available points in that state. So now I can filter it out. Click on OK. I have Alabama's data alone. So if you look at it, it's going to be the state data, what state I'm having, and that particular state's sales data alone is going to be given. I can also change it, show filter. Okay. Now if you'll have it here listed. So I'll be able to select which all I want, and then I can play around with it. There are multiple options for me to. Okay, how I can go about this. So here, if you look at it, this again is a filter customization option. For this, I can just have it as a drop down and use it alone, or I can use a slider. So slider is not advisable for this particular data, because it's not that would be easy. Slider, let's say you have certain categories alone and you want to view that categories alone, yeah, that is fine. This is possible now. Likewise, multiple values drop down are there. So this is your multiple values drop down. Then you have your wildcard search, that is also there. Wildcard is going to give you a match. For example, if I just click A alone, all states with an A option or all states with an A will actually come up. Those options are also possible for this. And then you have your radio button kind. Okay, where only one particular stage data will be available for that particular point. So all these options are also there. I can bring in numerous other filters too. Let's say I want to also bring in the region for that matter. Show filter again. See, there are two ways in which I can change it. So one, if I want to change the filter, your edit filter option is going to come up, where you can do it from this window. Or you want to have it, that is when you will use your show filter. So that will actually help you with the listing. So now I have the listings as such. So all states are there. So let me change it to the multiple values drop down. I just want a specific state data now. Now this is not making any sense because let's see the customer sale. You have these numerous options available. So this is one way in which you'll be able to apply your filters. Is it okay so far on with the applications of filters, what filter does and how to apply filters? So now let's look at few other charts for that part. So you want to see the trend. So what is your sales trend for that given for the data available in the given year? So all I have is I have data from 2013 to 2016. So now if you look at it, what is the sales trend? What is this particular trend chart or trend line conveying? Because chart is actually conveying data in a much precise manner or an easily understandable way. So now if you look at this, what happens is that my year is also converted into continuous data. So continuous data is also converted to continuous, hence I'm actually getting this kind. So if I want to discrete, since you'll have just two data points, I can expand this further. You have a hierarchy option. I'll be able to see quarter-wise. The next particular option is for me to see what is the trend quarter-wise. Okay, those options are also possible for me. So each quarter data is given. I'll be able to see what is the sales trend in the given data. So now can I see a specific pattern just by looking at it? I'm able to understand a specific pattern and also give you the inference here. See, if you look at the peaks, okay, what I understand, it's the quarter 4 has the highest sales data. Okay. And for every year, it's the same. Every year, it's the same in the sense the pattern is the same. Quarter 4 actually tops the sales data or the sales value. Likewise, for 2015, quarter 4 has actually topped. Likewise, for 2016, the quarter 4 has topped. And there is also one other factor. Quarter 1 day sales is actually dropping. Dropping in the sense it is slow when compared to the other quarters. Quarter 1 scenario is low. Now, just by looking at it, what I will be able to do is, I can take in some, I have some takeaways. Why is my quarter 1 low? I can further drill down because earlier with this kind of a chart where I had a year data alone, I was not able to get that kind of that information. Information in the sense, yes, each year had its own. The entire ultimate result is the sales value for each of your years. But when I drill down further into months or quarters, I'm able to extract more. So these patterns are actually visible for me too. Okay, so that is how your charts are actually helping you. You will be able to use your charts in a manner where you will be able to understand what these charts are conveying. So now what I do is I can apply other charts too. We have this year data. So now I'll be able to split this one into quarters. So I can also see that particular trend. I can also see that particular trend here, but it is clearly visible if I use a line chart. In the continuous one, I'm able to clearly view that particular trend. So these are the ones which are actually helping out. You should choose the chart in a manner where you're able to identify or you're able to get the best information out of it. Okay, so that is how your chart should also be selected. So is it clear so far? So now let's say I'll be able to use each of your graphs. Okay. So now let us use a different graph. Okay. We'll look into it. We will also look at other options. This is one such. It's called as a tree chart. Okay. So there are specific intended uses for each of your charts. Again, if you look at it, the technology actually gained or had the highest profit. So your pie chart is giving out much better information when compared to the rest of all. Rest of the charts will not give you much information. And this, again, yes, it is conveying it, but you're having one particular block which is very small. What you can do is you can also use your stacked bars to see what is the composition. So all these are the ones which I'll be able to use in your Tableau. So with this, what we do is we come to end of tonight's session. So basically we got to know what is Tableau, how to use your Tableau for importing data. Importing data in the sense, let's say I want to import an Excel file. Yes, I can. Or I want to connect to a different data source altogether. Let's say it's going to be a database. I can. In this case, we also saw how to connect to your MySQL. So let's say you have Oracle or you have an answer data source, you can connect to it. And from there, what we did is we moved on into your charts part. How to use, what is a sheet, what is a worksheet, then what is a dashboard. Though we did not get into the dashboard, I can also do that. We'll be doing it at a later point of time. Then we also saw what are the different options available in your Tableau. That is, what is the functionality of each of your menu. What options are available under each of your menu. So that was also that was something which we saw. Then we got into the visualization part where we understood what are the data types. Data types in the sense main types in your Tableau field types. That is your dimensions, and then we got to know what each kind does, and we use them for your data part. Now let's look at something called as a save. To save, right, what I can do is I can save this in numerous ways. First thing is, when I go in the save option, what I have two options: Tableau workbook and Tableau packaged workbook. So Tableau workbook, what it will have is it will just have these connections, but it will not have the entire data set in the backup. Tableau packaged workbook will also bring in the data part too. It will not require some connections, but still you will be able to bring in the data. So let's say I'm working on Excel. I use an Excel to create some sort of visualization. When I go on with the packaged workbook, what will happen is that Excel data also gets appended to your workbook. Okay, so that's how it is. With your Tableau workbook, you will just have your visualization or the sheets alone or the dashboard alone. But with your workbook, the data will also be packaged along with it. That is your raw data or your source will also get appended to it. So that's how it is. Okay. So with this, we actually come to, so what I would recommend is like try to practice a lot on your R. Thanks a lot.
Acadgild. Average is dead.